Hello everyone. This question is from Olympiad Pathfinder Chapter 12, multiple choice question number 27. Two particles each of mass 100 gram and charge 10 microcoulomb are released on a horizontal plane at a distance 1 meter from each other. Coefficient of friction between the particles and the plane is 0.1. And acceleration of free fall, that g to be taken as 10 meter per second square. Maximum speed acquired by the particles after they are released is closest to. There are four options. Needs to be solved and select the appropriate option. Let us solve it. These are the two particles. Mass is 100 gram each. Charge on it is 10 microcoulomb. Distance, initial distance where it was placed is 1 meter apart. So velocity was 0 at that time, and from there it was released. F subscript EI is the electrostatic force in the initial condition. I is for the initial condition when the gap between the two particles was 1 meter. So now if we write this electrostatic force for initial condition, this will be equal to K into Q square divided by Ri square, R subscript I square. So R subscript I is 1 meter. Initial I stands for initial wherever you see it. Since there was no motion initially, it has been released from the rest, so there is no friction force acting on it right now. Now, due to the electrostatic force, these particles will start moving and the friction force will come into action. So we have taken the forces in this diagram in figure 2 when the gap between these two particles were r and velocity v was achieved. Electrostatic force at that time has been notated as F subscript E. So if we make the free body diagram of this particle, which all forces are acting on it, you can see electrostatic force in this direction, friction force on this direction, gravitational pull on this particle, and the ground reaction force N on it. So from Coulomb's law, we can write the electrostatic force between these two charges as Kq square by R square. And friction force will be coefficient of friction into normal reaction, that ground reaction. This we know. There is no motion in the y direction. We have taken this as y direction, this as x direction. So there is no motion in y direction, means there is no acceleration in y direction. So summation of Fy will be 0. And in the y direction, there are two forces, N and mg. So we have put the value and we got N is equal to mg. Question number 3. So electrostatic force Fe and friction force is acting opposite to each other. Friction force only come into action when the particles start moving on the horizontal floor. Initially, the friction force was 0 as the particles were released from the rest as per question. The particles will start moving under the electrostatic force acting on it. Once the motion starts, the friction force will come into play, and this force will remain constant throughout, whereas the electrostatic force will keep reducing as the distance between the particles are increasing. So during the initial period, the particle will accelerate till the time the value of R becomes such that the friction force becomes equal to the electrostatic force. After this point, the friction force will be greater than the electrostatic force, because electrostatic force is reducing with the gap increasing between the two particles, and the particles will start decelerating. So what does it mean? It means the maximum velocity the particle will achieve when both the forces will be equal. So let us calculate the value of R when both the electrostatic and friction force becomes equal. So we will equate electrostatic force with the friction force, and we will be getting R square, this expression KQ square divided by coefficient of friction into mg. Putting all the value for K, Q, M, coefficient of friction, and solving for R, we will be getting 3 meter. That you can solve, that you should check by yourself. So when the gap between the particles will be 3 meter, the velocity V will be maximum. That we can say it as V subscript max. Now at any gap R between the charged particles, we can write this equation: summation of force in the x direction is equal to mass into acceleration in the x direction. This is from the Newton's law of motion. And we will be multiplying dr in the numerator and divide by dr in denominator. So dr by dt will be v at that instant, and dv by dr will be left over. So this mv dv by dr will be equal to kq square by r square minus cf by mg. Okay. This is the resultant force in the x direction. So keep on simplifying and solving. Upon integrating on the left and on the right side, so we had started from the rest, so we will say it's 0, and we are taking r is equal to 1, initial condition, to r is equal to 3 meter when the velocity was maximum. So accordingly we will write V max over here. Upon solving and putting all the value of known, we will be getting V max is equal to 2 meter per second. This part I have left it on the students to calculate, to solve. But you will be getting V max is equal to 2 meter per second after solving it. So in the option A, it is given 2 meter per second. So answer will be A. Hopefully you understood the concept behind it. Any problem at any place in understanding, please do let me know through the comment. Please go through my write-up. This will give you ease in understanding. Thank you.